Okay, this is all new to me, and I only barely have anything set up. But hi, and welcome to my very first live stream. It's kind of new and wholly different than what I'm used to, so it's gonna be a learning experience, right? I'm just not going to spill that. Gonna be working on this animatic and just going over some talking points that I have set up. And like most of my things, it'll be still available on my channel after this is over. I have no idea how long we're gonna go on, but probably not longer than an hour. Either way, yeah. So I feel like it would be the best way to start to just talk about my drawing process as I do this, and I guess one of the things I'm going to have to learn to get good at is drawing while talking. I've never had to before. I hope I can be heard clearly, but not too clearly, right? Like, I don't want anybody, like... I'll get better about not using filler words as I go. So, yeah. This is me just working on a frame, as we can see. But, normally it doesn't start out like this. You can't really see me gesturing. It doesn't really start out like this. It, starts out in my sketchbook. I sketch out what exactly I have going on in my head, while also just, like, obsessively listening to the song second by second to try and get out all of what I have in mind. And when I'm mostly happy with it, I will then move on to the second part of my process, which is taking snapshots of all of my terrible sketches. Like, I don't even... Do I have a picture of my sketchbook somewhere just so I can show you how bad it is? No, I must have gotten rid of it. Ugh, good. Like, good. It's... It's not... It's not great. Don't keep them for very long, because I don't like them very much. They're just stick figures, and they're awful. But, you know, they do the job. And I start to put those together to the actual song. Or trailer, because I do trailers too. I really like doing trailers for my stories. I like them a lot. I wish that every story that I did could have a trailer just, like, perfectly pop into place for them, but that doesn't really happen very often for my stories. Sometimes a trailer just pops into mind for it, and it's like, oh, I will never be able to associate this with anything else. But other times, I'm lucky if I get, like, any inspiration, any musical inspiration for a story. Yeah. I'm gonna spend an hour working on just his hair. His hair is so easy. Shannon's hair is so easy to do when it's down, but it is, like, near impossible to do when it is up. Or, I think I had that backwards. Near impossible to do when it's down, as you can tell. Because I have the damnedest time getting it correct. I only barely remember. remember what I was talking about. Right. My drawing process. I need to move some things around. There we go. Moving things around behind the scenes. So I start putting things together to music, or to the sound that I have in mind. And I'm not, it's like sometimes really fuzzy. Like that's the best way of putting it. It's sometimes just really fuzzy how some things are supposed to go. And those ones are like near impossible to iron out properly. So I'll do Frankenvids. I call them Frankenvids because they're like mishmashes of a bunch of videos and a bunch of clips that all seem to go together in a way. Like in my head it makes sense. It makes sense in my brain when I'm watching it. I don't see... What's this face supposed to look like? Oh, where am I? That one. Okay. Figuring out where I am in the song so I can get the face right. As well as eventually the lip sync as well. Yeah, I'm really bad at staying on topic. Frankenvids. So, to kind of iron out the parts that are really fuzzy, I'll take clips and I'll put them together. You kind of saw a little bit of that here. I've got all of this nonsense going on. And that's just solidifying and cementing bits and pieces that I had in mind, but didn't quite translate very well in my sketches. And then pretty much we just do this part. Is it the easiest part? Kinda? If only because it's like the most relaxing part. That's definitely not the right expression. There we go. I never expected it to be so difficult to talk while drawing. Like, I don't know if I expected it to be easy, but it's not what I expected. My, like, every instinct is just telling me to not not to say anything and just quietly go about doing this. Which, you know, this is kind of what I do to wind down and relax when I'm stressed out, so I guess that kind of makes sense from a... what was the lips? Yeah. Go with the closed mouth. My process is super simplistic, and I don't have very... I don't have very good software. Yeah, that's old Windows Movie Maker. Very old. But you know, it does the job, and it's free. Maybe I've been thinking about like upgrading to actual software, but I don't know, it's a commitment I'm not ready for, I think. Oh, goodness. Means we get to go on to my next talking point. Ha! Which I've just written down Pokemon Journey and Encanto fan theories. I have quite a few Encanto fan theories. I love that movie so much. Everything about it is just beautiful, and the more I watch it, the more I fall in love with it. And also the more I watch it, the more my brain just kind of fills in gaps that never needed to be filled. I have I have gap filling theories that, you know, I don't necessarily know if they're like perfectly sync up with canon, but like it I like the way that it goes on in my head. So, the first one that I wrote down was the no true prophecy theory, and I think I need to get better at naming these videos. Like, I need to stop saying like. I think I need to get better at naming these streams, because I know that it's my first one, so I have like a little bit of leniency, but I think I'll go back afterwards and name it whatever my talking point that I go on for the longest about. So, the no true prophecy theory. In the song We Don't Talk About Bruno, I genuinely believe that there's only one person who actually got a genuine prophecy from him. And let's break that down a little bit farther, because that's a very broken elbow. Nope. So I'm going to break that down a little bit more. In my head, I think the song isn't about everyone going, oh, these were prophecies that he gave me, and more just things he told me, things that Bruno told these people. And I don't think they were prophecies. Like, what if he was just super observant, and the whole thing isn't he gave people prophecies, he just told people things. Like, the very first one that we hear is Peppa and Felix going, he ruined our wedding, saying that it was going to rain. But in the end song, All of You, he says that that wasn't a prophecy, it was just something he said because he could see that she was upset. And that got me thinking, what if most of the prophecies that he told people, quote, air quotes prophecies that you can't see, were actually just not prophecies at all? They were just observations that he made. Like, we know Peppa and Felix, that theirs was not a prophecy. It was just him saying, hey, you're upset. The next one that we hear is from Dolores, who it's not a prophecy, she's just telling people that she knows he's there. Next one's Camilo being a little shit. I think he's just playing up what little he remembers about Bruno, and I think that's just generally accepted, that he's just trying to freak Mirabelle out. And the next one we hear, after the three of them talk about their experiences with Bruno, is the fishbowl lady, whose fish died. Literally the next day after he said your fish was going to die. I think whether or not that lady had the fish in the fishbowl the whole time, maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I mean, if you're carting around a dead if you're carting around a dead goldfish, I don't really think you need to mind how big the tank is. Don't think that's a consideration anymore you have to worry about. But whether it was in that fishbowl or not, if a fish is sick and gonna die literally the next day, I think there's gonna be I think there's a visual cue. I mean, I've had fish before. My son had a betta fish for a little while. I say a little while as if it was like only a couple of days. It was not. We had that fish for a while. And when it started going, we could tell like a week in advance that it was not long for the world. And that sounds so bad when I say it out loud. But when an animal is sick and, going down that path, you can kind of tell. So I genuinely believe that Bruno just somehow noticed this lady with her fish and was like, your fish doesn't look so good. And she just like, oh, okay, that was a weird interaction. And when her fish dies, she's like, oh my god, he was giving me a prophecy. And Bruno's just sitting there like, no, that's not what that was. I no. It's kind of obvious actually. And what was the next guy? The next guy was, oh, he said I would grow a gut. Again, I don't think that was a prophecy. I think that was just him badly attempting a joke. Cause Bruno seems like an awkward individual, right? He seems kind of awkward. And I feel like definitely in some sort of a comedy or sitcom type situation, you would definitely have that character that just says something off the cuff that is funny to the audience, but not really funny to the person who's being told it. So like just imagine for like half a second that this person comes up to you and is like, "Whoa, you better slow down on that or else you might need to exercise a bit more or something." Like I can't think of a good way to say it. Cuz like it's such a bad thing to just walk up to somebody and say. But at the same time, it's a trope you see in sitcoms. Like, it's not unheard of. Heck, I've had people walk up to me and say it in public. Walk up to me and tell me that someday I'm gonna gain a little bit of weight. And, like, I've had people do that to me. So, in my brain, that's kind of like it. I was trying to make a joke about, how Julieta cooks. I trying so hard to say that name correctly, but everything in my body wants to say Julieta. It's not how they say it in the movie. And it hurts my soul. It hurts my soul that I cannot say it correctly the first time. But, like, somebody is just this guy is just enjoying Julieta's cooking. And Bruno comes up and is all like, "Hey, you keep eating arepas, you're going to gain some weight, man." And he's just like, the heck's wrong with you? Why would you just walk up and say that? And then, a couple of years later, he's like, "Oh my god, it came true. Bruno's prophecy came true." And Bruno's sitting there going, "Oh, I don't even remember saying that one, but I'm sorry." I don't even remember saying that one. And of course you got the third guy, who's just like, "He said my hair was gonna disappear. And it did." And that's like the one that seems the least likely to be a prophecy for me, and more of just a passing observation of just Bruno being all like, "Hey, your hairline's receding a bit there, Padre." And the guy's just like, "What? Why would you say that?" Then a couple of years later, it was a prophecy. And the whole time Bruno's just sitting there going, "I don't remember saying half of this stuff to these people, but they're all so, hey, get out of that. Cat. Shoo shoo." Cat's getting into stuff she knows she's not supposed to be getting into. And I've lost my train of thought completely. Give it a minute. Give it a minute. Right, I don't remember saying half of these things. But here we are. And of course then we get to, like, Isabella's. And I think she's the only one whose prophecy was real. And I say that because it came true, didn't it? Like, hers was... I don't even know if I could remember it without singing it. Yeah, he told me that the life of my dreams would be promised and someday be mine. So, that's kind of what she got, isn't it? She got exactly what he told her she would get. The life of her dreams. It's promised. He's the one promising it. And would someday be hers. And as she eventually got it. And that her power would grow like the grapes that... Her power would thrive like the grapes that grow on the vine. Yeah, there it is. It's so hard to remember that song without singing it. Because it's a good song. That is the hallmark of a good song. And you can't say the lyrics without humming them. It's like the ABC's song. Now that I've thrown that one out there. She's the one that had her prophecy, like, actually come true. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Mirabel isn't the only one Abuela told Bruno to have a prophecy about. Sorry. I have a sneaking suspicion that he's given all of the Madrigals a prophecy in one way or another. I know Mirabel's happened when she had like the door disappear on her. Oh, my background audio is being a little bit weird. Let me just turn that up a little bit, and then let me just readjust some things. Okay. Yeah, hers happened before he disappeared when her door vanished. And I have a theory about Mirabel's powers, and it's not that she has a power or she doesn't have a power, it's more just who gives the powers. I have two conflicting theories about that, but we'll get there when we get there. I was talking about Isabella's powers. Right. I have so many problems keeping my thoughts straight. So I think everybody has a prophecy from Bruno. I think everyone does. I know for a fact that, well, I don't know for a fact. I believe very strongly in my heart that after Bruno got his powers, he probably gave everybody a prophecy. I mean, he gave Abuela a prophecy, he gave his sisters a prophecy. And I almost, like, I have it in my head that I cannot do this hairline. It is killing me. Oh my goodness. So I have it in my head that Bruno maybe had a prophecy that said Pepe and Julieta would have 3 children. And I have that in my head because Peppa had her 3rd kid so late in her life. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong. But it almost makes me wonder if she, like, didn't want to have that 3rd kid, but there was a prophecy that said she would. So she kind of got guilted into it, maybe? Especially after Mirabel's bummer of a ceremony. Because she was definitely... It was past her ceremony before Antonio was born. Absolutely, 100%. So, I almost wonder if Peppa got pressured into having her 3rd kid. But I think Bruno gave everybody a prophecy. Everybody in the family. Abuela got one. Talking is hard. Abuela got one, Peppa got one, Julieta got one. Oh, I will get this right. And eventually, when the kids came along, they got them as well. And I think Isabella's is the one that she's quoting, and we don't talk about Bruno. I think that's the one she's quoting, where she says that she's going to get everything that she wanted. And I think that's the only one that's actually a real prophecy, because the next one is Dolores, who says that he told her that the man of her dreams is just out of reach. And again, that's just another observational thing, isn't it? Where I think the Guzmans and Abuela were friends. I say that because everybody who's in the Encanto had to have come to the Encanto with Abuela. So, knowing that, I think they were friends, and that's how we ended up with the betrothal. I need to take a second to breathe. I could talk about Disney fan theories and headcanons literally forever. And these are just the ones I have for Encanto. Oh my god, you should hear the ones I have for Frozen. I might have a problem. So, I think that Isabella and Mariano were absolutely... It's like a swan princess situation. Where they were a thing for a long time. such a long time that when Dolores actually started crushing on Mariano, Bruno just got to be the one who had to be the bearer of bad news, to be like, yeah, he's taken. So I don't think that that was a prophecy. I think that was just something he had to tell her. And that's everybody. That's everybody in the song. So yeah, that's the one true prophet, or that's the no true prophecy theory that I have. Next one on my list is that Peppa had her kids out of wedlock, which kind of goes again with the, oh, it's having issues again. There we go. It again has like little to no proof. Like all of my headcanons and theories, like honestly, you should not take these seriously whatsoever. Like not at all. It's just me having fun with things that I love. Did I put teeth in this one? I did. There we go. Yeah, these have no evidence. It's just me having fun. And again, this hinges on We Don't Talk About Bruno, in which Peppa's kind of still sore about her whole wedding ordeal. And it got me onto... Oh, don't like that. Let's just go with that. It got me onto this thought process, right? It got me onto this thought process of, what if their wedding didn't happen when they had their kids, right? Wow, that is thick. What if, and I almost want to say that maybe Peppa had like a relationship prior to Felix. But again, I don't know if that necessarily fits in, or if that'd be like an interesting concept to think about. But my headcanon pretty much revolves around the idea that they had their kids out of wedlock. And the way I kind of think about it is, because when Isabella is getting married, Abuela kind of drops everybody else to make sure that that proposal goes over without a hitch. And I assume that the same thing kind of happened with the triplets. And which, oof, so many filler words. It's like my entire high school education just vanished in a puff of smoke. So, like, I believe that when, Abuela met Augustine, she was absolutely dedicated to getting him to marry Julieta. I think that's what happened. Leaving Peppa to do whatever she wanted. And that led to, Dolores. Before they were married. So, I think their wedding happened a lot sooner than we think it did. I don't think it happened before she had her kids, like 20 years ago, from the point of the song. I think it's possible that their wedding happened afterwards, so that Peppa could have that big white wedding without being pregnant. Do I have any evidence to back this up? No. No, I do not. It's just a headcanon. It's a funny thing to speculate about. And it's something that I kind of believe, so take from that what you will. What is Ah, yes. So I read an interesting theory on Reddit, because of course, that said Abuela is the one who dictates the powers. I don't think that that's exactly what it is, but that's how I'm taking it. That's how I'm interpreting it. And I think the post was a little bit more specific, saying that, oh, no, that's wrong. Was a little bit more specific, saying that the triplets' powers were things that she needed desperately when they were escaping. And that got me thinking, what if Abuela is the one who dictates the powers? And we're gonna kind of just dive into that one a little bit stronger now, because I've given it some thought, but I haven't thought it all the way out yet. So the triplets' powers, Peppa can control the weather. We all know their powers if we've watched Encanto. The post said that I'm very bad at drawing while talking. But the post said something along the lines of, Abuela would really, it would have been a lot easier to find safety and shelter if she had a way to control the weather, hence Peppa's powers. If she had a way to heal the sick and injured with good food, hence Julietta's powers. If she could see all of the danger that lied ahead, hence Bruno's powers. My pronunciation is incredibly inconsistent, and I apologize. I am on a roll, though. So, that got me thinking, what if all of the powers in the family are just dictated by what Abuela thinks they need then and there? And we'll get to how that affects Mirabel in a minute, because I haven't thought that one through yet. We'll talk it out. We'll talk it out. So, I don't remember if Isabella is older or if Dolores is older. I don't remember, but they're the same age, so we'll tackle them at the same time. I think Dolores came first. I think she came first. And it would make sense if she came first because her power essentially micromanages everybody within the town, right? So, Abuela just sitting there going, yeah, you know what we need? We need to hear when anybody is in trouble at all throughout the Encanto. And then Dolores gets her powers and she can hear literally everything that happens in the Encanto. There you go. That's super helpful. Then we've got Isabella's powers, which are, being able to grow literally anything and everything. I mean, I assume literally anything and everything, because her powers are not specified to be anything less than. Just because she only grows roses, I think, doesn't necessarily mean that she can't grow other things like crops and stuff like that. But that's super helpful. If at any point in time they need to just grow a bunch of food, well, there's Isabella, tending to the gardens and making sure that they always have enough raw materials to do whatever they need to do with. I don't necessarily know anything about the farming in the Encanto, but you'd never have to worry, you'd never really have food insecurity or textile insecurity if you could just have somebody to insta-grow those things that you need. Hence Isabella's powers. Luisa is pretty self-explanatory, super strong, can do literally any of the heavy lifting, which of course, effortlessly heavy lifting. Which of course comes in handy, and I think kind of speaks for itself. Camilo and his shape-shifting powers, again, I think it's kind of, well, I don't know if it's necessarily self-explanatory, but maybe it comes from, what if we just had like one more Well, I mean, Camilo and Mirabel are about the same age, so I almost wonder if it was like a mom thing, like if only we had one more person to help mother these kids and everything like that. I almost wonder if it was like if only we had more of blank person. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to doubt that shapeshifting is absolutely helpful, but again, Camilo's another one that I didn't put thought into. Which then leads to the speculation about why Mirabel didn't get powers. Like, I don't think that they didn't need anything, but I do think that cracks were already starting to appear by that time, with Bruno sort of feeling like the outcast. Cracks were appearing, and maybe what Abuela needed was somebody to pull the family back together, which is what she got in Mirabel. So, again, I think it's possible that Abuela is the one who dictates the powers, and Mirabel didn't get a power because Abuela didn't need her to have one. What she needed was a way to tie the family back together, to stop all of the family being so distant with each other. And so Mirabel did not get a power. And Antonio is, I think, again, kind of an easy one that goes kind of hand in hand with Isabella's powers. You're never going to run out of food and resources if you can always have them available to you with somebody who can just do those things. That's super morbid, because I kind of just insinuated that Antonio's gonna bring his friends to die. But, you know, it's a theory. It's a bad theory. Yeah, I have a dark sense of humor. But that's only like one half of the like thought process. There's the other theory that I also like partially believe that says Casita is the one that actually gives them their powers, and it's based solely on who they are and what they enjoy. Man, that's not good. Which is what kind of leads me to believe that Casita just didn't want to give Mirabel up. Just wanted to keep her forever, where the Casita could reach her. Because I don't think Casita can go into any of the rooms. I don't think he can. I say he because I also subscribe to the idea that Casita is Pedro. Ugh. I'm trying to think if I have any more Encanto headcanons. I don't think I do. I think those are the only ones I have. Why am I trying to do that without looking that one? Okay. I don't think I have any more Encanto headcanons, which is surprising. I watch that movie a lot. And by me, I mean my son watches that movie a lot. That's the one that we have on repeat all the time. And I'm glad, I think. Immediately, thought process just did not continue. I think I'm glad that it's Encanto instead of something else. Mostly because I just don't get tired of that movie. Like, I don't get tired of that movie. It's so good that I will watch it endlessly on a loop, and it doesn't bother me. I love the way these models, I love the way these drawings look when they don't have eyebrows. Like, if you ever see a picture of somebody with their eyebrows shaved off, it's the exact same look, and it just kind of makes me laugh a little bit. A lot bit, honestly. It is really distracting though. The way he'll just come up to me, Encanto's playing, and I'm trying to get stuff done, writing the actual stuff that I'm trying to succeed at, and then I just get sucked down into watching the movie with him again. And then I notice new things, and then I make up new headcanons, and then we all get to suffer together. It's a beautiful movie, though. Every time you watch it, you just see something new, notice something new. And I think I could talk forever. I recently was surprised by the amount of color theory that they put into Encanto. Oh my gosh, it is so good. Like, I need to think more about what I say before I say it. I will get better about not using filler words. Encanto's color theory is so good. I could talk about it forever, and I think I'm going to. Or at least for a little bit. I'll talk about it for a little bit. Abuela wears pink, and Julieta wears blue, and Peppa wears yellow, and Bruno wears green. I managed to actually roll my R's on that one. And it's so cool, because all of Peppa's kids also wear yellow. Dolores also wears red. I will explain that in a second. And 2 of Julieta's kids wear blue. The only exception is Isabella. And at the end of the movie, when she's being more true to herself, she's wearing blue. And it's these little itty-bitty details that are just so good. And Bruno wears green because he represents the truth, and Mirabel can see the truth, and that's why her glasses are green. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this, or I'm just explaining this in such layman's terms that I am explaining it perfectly. There's no in between with me. Abuela wears pink, and for most of the movie, Isabella also wears pink because she's the perfect child who is constantly being micromanaged by Abuela. And Dolores wears red because she wants a little bit of Abuela's attention, but just doesn't get it. There we go. Just sometimes lose my train of thought when I get excited. There's a lot to get excited about when we're talking about animation. I love animation so much, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm doing animatics. It's just a passion, a fascinating one. I can only barely comprehend how animation really truly works. I understand it, but at the same time it boggles my brain, Seeing animation, seeing especially stylized forms of animation, think your Arcanes and your Into the Spider-Verses, super stylized stuff that is just so pretty. Not just pretty, but pretty, really pretty. And it's mesmerizingly hypnotizing, especially when you get a really good scene that's just the music syncs up and the action syncs up and it all just works together so perfectly that you can't not think about it for years. You can't not think about it at all. I think solely in animation. You know, I've actually had like a new story idea floating around in my head. We're gonna jump straight onto the next train. New story idea in my head. Maybe this is the one that I work on after Deathbringer, which is the book that I want to work on after The Light Above the Sea, which is going to be my debut novel. I'm hopefully going to release that in October. Hooray for me! Very exciting. The trailer for that is on my channel. I made it my channel trailer because I'm kind of proud of it. It's one of the first animatics that I've ever finished. The Light Above the Sea is the first project that I've ever finished, so it holds like a real special place in my heart. But after that I have Deathbringer, which is going to be my first series. Woo! First series. I'm not going to talk too much about that one. I want it to be a bit of a surprise for when I start working on it. But it's frozen, but Elsa is a necromancer. And that's all I'm going to say about that. The next one I have that I'm currently thinking about and playing around with is this old fairy tale called the Lindworm. And that's a... look it up if you get a chance. Look it up. There's actually this retelling of it in this book series that I'm reading. It's a collection of short stories called The Fellowship of Fantasy. I think it's available right now on Kindle Unlimited, and if you can, you should look that one up. It is good. And I think it's Prince Lind? What is it called? Where's my phone? While I'm setting up the next picture, let me see if I can't find you what that story is called. Not that. Nope, not that. Here we go. It is called... there we go. Skin Deep. It is called Skin Deep. And the author is... Morgan Smith. So, yeah. That is the short story. I recommend you read it. It's good. So good. It's part of the Fellowship of Fantasy series. I have no idea how many stories in. I think 5? 5 stories? 5 short stories in? Maybe? Not a clue. But it's based on the Lindworm, and I've been playing with the idea of that. It's not the first time that I've played with that idea. My original idea was to mix King Arthur, Snow White, and the Lindworm all into one story. Is my background audio even coming in? Very inconsistent, very inconsistent. Just turn that up, I guess. I guess I can turn that up too. All new experiences. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my mic. The Lindworm, yes. So, that was my original idea. Mixing in King Arthur. I was gonna call it the King's Rose and replace the sword and the stone with this glass diamond-esque rose-like thing. You can't see me gesticulating, but I'm trying to. And I don't remember why that one fell through. I think it was just another victim of my inability to finish anything at the time. At the time, I was super bad at finishing literally anything, and I think that story got repurposed into White Steel, another story idea that I've got floating around, which is more inspired by Skyrim. Because dragons. I love dragons. But I've been playing around with a new idea that kind of combines it with, like, the labor of Hercules type. Well, I guess I mean, it's true to the original story because I loved the short story that I mentioned so much. I actually did look up the original story. It's a little bit truer to the original story. I don't know how it ends yet. I'm still I'm still playing around with it. So we'll see. But the general idea is that, you know, you got the once upon a time, a queen struggled to have a kid, so she made a deal with the witch, and the witch was like, okay, plant this rose seed in your garden, and it's going to bloom 2 roses upon a full moon. And if you want a little girl, you need to eat the white blossom? Pink blossom, maybe? I think it was pink. I don't know, I don't have my notes in front of me. It was a color that's probably pink. Probably white. It is a color. I guess it doesn't matter. But if you want a boy, you have to eat this other one that's a different color. I'm just gonna go with that. And she eats them both. Thinking, twins. I don't care which one I want, but twins would be cool. So she gets twins. The little girl is a beautiful princess, and the boy is a horrible monster. So he's locked in the dungeons, because of course. Because of course. And pretty much like everybody forgets about him. A whole we don't talk about Bruno situation, but instead of Bruno, the guy who hides in the walls, it's literally like this scale thing in the dungeons. Not as catchy. Not as catchy. So the princess ends up getting betrothed eventually, and everything is well, except she kind of hates the dude she's betrothed to, right? So she goes to her older brother, who's living in the dungeon, and is like, hey, shouldn't you be married before me? And he's like, you know, I should. That's a valid point. You know, you're right. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to hit my mic. And so he tells people, he goes up and he tells the king, hey, I was born first by like a minute, but technically speaking it counts. I should be married first. And the king's like, okay, that is how laws work. I will find you a bride. And his first thought is like, oh my god, no nobility is gonna want to try and sacrifice their kid to this. So I'll get a peasant. That's what I'll do. I'll get a peasant who doesn't mind possibly dying. And that's kind of what happens. Like, news goes round. People are gathered, including our female protagonist, who volunteers to escape her awful home life. I'm thinking Cinderella, but I'm not sold on it yet. I might pick a different fairy tale. I want this to be really centered around fairy tales for some reason. It seems like the vibe, right? Lip sync. Which one are you? This one? Yeah. So she volunteers, and it's like the coldest winter in the world. Actually, it doesn't even have to be the coldest winter in the world. That part can probably just be cut. It was one of the parts that I kind of took inspiration from the short story for, but it's gonna get cut because I don't need it anymore. Now that I've come up with a completely different direction to take this. So, she goes down. None of these characters have names. She goes down and it's all like, oh my gosh, you have very pretty eyes. And he's like, flattery gets you nowhere. And she goes, I don't care. I'm better than I was yesterday. And he's like, well, I'm gonna have to kill you now. To which she goes, okay, why? I mean, like, if I'm gonna die, can I at least ask why? He's like, because you are not worthy of marrying me. She's like, fair enough. But what would make somebody worthy? Like, are you looking for royal blood? Are you looking for somebody who can feel a pea under 1,000 mattresses? Like, what's your goalpost here? And he starts to go on this... Oh, I forgot the eyes. Whole thing about how he wants somebody who can climb the tallest mountain and pluck a fruit from the tree of the world. He wants somebody who can milk the fairy's prized golden calf. Probably a cow, because calves can't bear milk. He wants somebody who can find the pearl spiders and weave their silk. And the female protagonist is like, well, I don't think somebody who's done those things is gonna wander on in here. But if you give me a chance, I could try. To which you, the prince, the dragon prince, well, the snake prince? The beast prince laughs and is like, yeah, the minute I leave you out of here, you're just never gonna come back. And she's like, yeah, that's fair. You could always come with me, though. Get out of the dusty dungeon. Go on an adventure. Who's to say we have to come back? We could make a nice home somewhere up in the mountains. Nobody has to know. And the prince just goes, you know what? Actually, that sounds like really nice. So off they go on an adventure together to climb the mountains to pick a fruit from the world tree. And that's about as far as I've gotten on this idea. I don't know. It's like, it sounded like a fun idea. And I'm very much enjoying pursuing it. Given that I don't really have any other story ideas that are bearing fruit right now. I mean, I have stories that I'm working on. But I don't really have any outlines that are becoming anything. Just this one. And it's nice, because I actually really like that story. It's very similar to Beauty and the Beast. Extremely similar. But the idea is that instead of a rose or anything like that, the guy, because he's like a reptile of some sort, it's called a Lindworm, which I think is some sort of snake. I'm not entirely sure. But, because it's like some sort of snake, the idea is that he has to shed his skin. Like, if you can get the prince to shed his skin, the curse will be broken. And the short story is really good. It's a very good take on it, and I cannot recommend it enough. I think after this frame... Yeah? You gonna come in my lap? I can't decide whether she wants to be in my lap or not. Which means she will. As soon as I want to get up. But I think after this frame... I will sign off for the night. I mean... Yeah. It's been almost an hour, so... I think that'll wrap it up for this... It's now been over an hour. Nailing it. But I think I'll call it for tonight after this frame is done. I'm hoping to make this a weekly thing where I just come on and do a little bit of drawing, talk about some things. Maybe next time I'll talk about some of the story ideas I've had and have finished but aren't currently turning into a story. That could be fun. I think I have like at least 10. Not including Deathbringer. I think. And that's just the ones that are not part of the online, like those are like actual original stories that I'm gonna try and publish. That's not to say anything of the stories that I just post on Royal Road for fun. Link in the description, by the way, if you wanted to check out any of my stories, including Shannon, which is what this animatic is for. I think it's gonna be the finale, ending it where it began. Only people who read the Black Antlers will get that. Yeah. There's a lot of good ideas I have for the DM verse as well. I'm working on my next DM verse story. It's called Black as Ice, and it's book 1. And its sequel, All That Glitters, comes after it, whenever I finish with Shannon. I think I'm halfway through the writing process for Shannon, so I think we're halfway through the story. I say we, but I mean me. I'm halfway through it, because you guys have a delay on the chapters. I'm like 4 ahead of what's available on Royal Road. I like to do that in case I have a really bad week and I need to not post. Yeah, the next DM verse story is originally was just going to be a straight shot, taking the idea of Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik and rewriting it in a way that I would have wanted it to go. But as I was writing it, the outline for it, I realized that it kind of lined up with A Christmas Carol very, very well, so we're throwing that one in too, for funsies. Alright. I got through 4 frames today. Well, not today. I've actually done more than that before I came on. It takes me forever to do his hair. Can't wait till it's all up in a ponytail. I don't have to worry about it anymore. But that's my stream. I hope everybody who's watching it on my channel later really enjoys it, and if you do, don't forget to subscribe to see this animatic when it is finished, or to be here for the next one when we talk about, I don't know, probably just some of the cool ideas that I have that will eventually get turned into stories. Maybe I'll chat about The Light Above the Sea. Maybe I'll chat about Shannon and how he came to be a character. But you'll have to find out next time. I have no idea how to end this, but I hope to see you guys next week.